Welcome to Goddess on the Rise. I am your host, Sarah Brookberg, board certified life coach, board certified holistic health coach, and Ayurveda practitioner. Goddess on the Rise is all about empowering women, self-love, wellness, reclaiming the body you are in, and creating a life where you can come out on top. So buckle up, girlfriend. We are going for a ride. Hello, my lovelies, and happy day to you. For me, it is a Tuesday, and there's not a lot going on at the moment other than my massive to-do list that I'm completely ignoring to bring you another episode of Goddess on the Rise. Today, I was actually inspired by a post that I saw on Instagram. And in her post, she was talking about how, the journey that she's been on and how it's so much different from everybody else's. And it got me to thinking about my own journey in the body space community, like body love, self-love, confidence, wellness, health, somatic therapy, kind of all those things, that I touch base on quite a bit. And because of that, I was thinking about my journey, and I was getting ready to make a status with it and talk about my own, right? And make my own posts like that. And then I don't know how it kind of transpired, but it made me think of the very first time that I went on a quote unquote diet. Or more so, it made me think of the very first time that I had the thought that I wanted to change my body. Now, let me tell you what, I should take that back. It's not the very first thought. I know that I had some thoughts in fourth grade, third grade, but 10 years old was around the time that I remember, I want to say it was between 10 to 12 that I had bought my very first diet book. And it was a book. It had a girl on the front. I still remember she was wearing a pink sports bra and blue shorts. And she was holding a dumbbell, and she was holding a measuring tape around her waist. And I bought that book, and I remember being told, if you follow that book, you will look so good. And I was determined. I was going to follow that book to a T at 10, 11 years old. Insane. And if you are a mom and you're listening to this and you're wow, that is pretty intense to think that my 10-year-old or 11-year-old daughter will have those thoughts. And I want to tell you that the average age that children are introduced to dieting or thoughts about wanting to change their body is actually 8 years old. In a survey, there was I think 82% of 8-year-olds hated something about their body. And I want to say this with all the love and respect in the world, but chances are your 8-year-old probably heard it from you or someone in your family. And if not, if you're hey, actually, no, I know it's not from me. It's from, I know it's not for me, but I'm sure that they have those thoughts. Then it's probably from someone at school. So it's never too early to start having these conversations with your daughters, even your sons, about how your body is simply just a vessel, right? And how to respect that body, how to nourish that body, how to move that body, how to listen to your body, how to prioritize rest just as much as movement, and really letting them know that talking kindly about your body is what's cool, despite what anybody else says, despite what they might hear in the magazines or on TV. I'm sure kids these days aren't really reading magazines like we were back in like the 90s, early 2000s. I remember Cosmo being such a hit. I used to love Cosmo magazine. Along with like the Teen Vogue and all those simple ones. Okay, pause, and we are going to take a little chug. Today I'm chugging coffee. Surprise, surprise. But you should chug some water, okay? Let's go. God, that coffee just hits the soul sometimes. Just hits the soul. Woo! It hits places I didn't even know it could hit. The bad thing about me and my love for coffee is that I just love the taste of it. I don't even need it to function. I could go all day without coffee other than the desire that I want coffee. And I feel like that might be the biggest problem of it all. And back to what I was saying. So the magazines, yeah. But wherever they're seeing it, right? So maybe they're seeing it on TV or on TikTok or on whatever social media platform they are on, or maybe even just from your friends. And if you say like, hey, my kid doesn't have TikTok and they go to school, I guarantee you they are being exposed to TikTok. Somewhere, someone, one of their friends has TikTok. I guarantee it. They're watching it. Pay attention. Just know these things. And honestly, don't be mad. Don't be mad. That's just the way of life. You know, you can set those boundaries. I think that's very important, but don't be mad at your daughter, your son. They're just curious. All their friends are watching it. Instead, tell them the dangers. Tell them the importance of, hold on, pause. We had to pause for the pause. PAWS. Anyways, teach them the dangers, teach them the importance, but also be realistic, okay? Be realistic. Your child is going to be exposed to social media. Okay, that's my little rant on that. Getting off topic here. But anyways, what I really was trying to say with all of this is that we're being exposed to hating our bodies and wanting to change our bodies at such a young age. It's no shock that, you know, we've been dieting for so long, and now in our 30s, we are dealing with gut issues and hormone health and infertility. It's really no shock, right? Yo-yo dieting is such a harmful thing for our bodies. Actually more harmful than being quote unquote obese, which is a topic for another time, but I won't even get into that today. But the really thing that I wanted you to think about and sit with today was, when was the first time that you started disliking your body or wanting to change something about your body? Do you remember that? Because for me, it was definitely at 10 years old. And it's crazy to think back now, if I had a 10-year-old, which obviously I don't, just how different my views would be on that versus someone else's, or not even like someone else's views, but just how different of an approach I would take, I would do. I know if I ever had a daughter or a son that there are 5 things that I would not do in front of them. And I want to share those with you today. I put a lot of thought behind these, and it's something that I think is so important. So maybe if you have a son or a daughter, you can start thinking about these things as well. Number 1, my child, no matter what their age, would never see me pull or yank on my clothes. They aren't going to see me change my outfit 20 times because I don't like the way something looks on my body. Or they're not going to see me say something negative about my body, which kind of is like number 2. What they will see is me put on a confident, or put on an outfit and look in the mirror and look confident and say something good about myself. Like, wow, I really love how this outfit lays on my body, or maybe not even saying anything about my body at all, showing them that there is no importance behind that. And using words as a tool of like affirmations, right? So making sure that I am very, very, very intentional with the words that I am using about my body if I decide to talk about my body in front of my child. So number 3, they will never see me go on a diet or talk about food in a way that is harmful. They will never hear me labeling food as good or bad or prioritizing one food over another. They're never going to see me have cheat days or call something bad or like, I'm being a bad girl when it comes to my food. Food is going to be food. It's going to be used as fuel. It's going to be used as a reward. It's going to be used as a treat. And I'm going to tell them about how certain food can make us feel a certain way. And that could be a positive or a neutral or a bad way too, right? So case in point, if I, in particular, were to eat a cheeseburger and fries every single day, for me, that would not feel good. I would get very sick from that. But maybe for their father, that works okay. He needs that type of protein and carbs and fat, and that's fine. For me, in particular, that would leave me feeling very heavy. Whereas if I prioritized a cheeseburger and fries maybe once or twice a week, and in between had some good, and that's something that I'll always have to work on, some good protein, as if a burger isn't good, right? So just like being aware of like your words there. Like I've been doing this work for years and I still catch myself doing those things. But more so like prioritizing nutrients and vitamins and minerals some days of the week, where in other days I enjoy some other type of food, or maybe one day I have 2 or 3 desserts and the other day I have none. And letting that be okay, letting them see that I have a well-rounded diet that both has things that I'm prioritizing as nutritious and nourishing meals, along with meals that are decadent and so tasty, and letting them know that all of it can exist, right? So yeah, there's just so much beauty in that, and teaching them how to nourish their body correctly instead of teaching them how to chronically diet, which always fails about 80-something% of the time. So I guess I shouldn't say always, and leads to chronic health issues and leads to body hate and body dysmorphia and eating disorders, right? I want to make sure that I am being the role model, that they don't have to look outside of the home, right? And from that, it starts within first. So I have to go through like my own stuff, which I've already done that quite a bit, but just thoughts like if you are struggling with any of this. Number 4 kind of goes along with number 1, but my child is never going to hear me talk bad about my body or anybody else's body. We will not judge someone based off of we're not going to judge someone, period, but we're definitely not going to judge someone based off of what they're wearing, the way they look, the way they present themselves, the clothes that's on their body, the shape of their body, the color of their body, etc. That is something that my child will never hear me say. Nor will I ever say that about my own body. My child is never going to hear me say, oh, my diet starts next week. Or around the holidays, they're never going to hear me say, I shouldn't eat this. This is really bad. I'm being a bad girl. They're never going to hear me say, man, if I just lost a little bit of weight in my midsection, I would feel so much better about myself. They're never going to hear me say anything about my face being too round or my double chin coming out. And they sure as hell will not hear a family member say that around them either. This brings me into topic number 5. And if you hear my dog barking, my trainer told me to ignore her and not give her attention when she barks like this. But can I tell you how absolutely hard it is? Like, I just want to go scoop her up and tell her, come on inside, please stop barking. All right, I think the barking has ended. I might have spoke too soon. Okay, number 5. This would be making sure that my daughter or my son would understand that consent and boundaries are so important, right? So consent would be taught in many different ways, and it would start at a very young age, right? So at a young age, it would look like, maybe teaching the importance of asking first before you can hug them, and letting them know that saying okay is okay, right? They don't have to go up and greet someone with a hug, a family member with a hug, if they don't want to. Teaching them the importance of saying no and respecting what they want and what they need. So that would come in a form of looking like me asking, hi, can I have a hug? And they say no. Okay, no problem. That's as simple as teaching consent at a young age. And of course, that conversation would grow as like the child grows, right? And teaching to make sure that they respect other people's no's, right? So in that exercise, it would be reciprocated. They would approach me and ask me for a hug. And if I say no, then they would say okay. And then, vice versa. So, each age, just showing them, demonstrating consent, and then also respecting their consent, right? Respecting their no's. And I think that's one thing that we do not do, or maybe didn't do. I think maybe now it's starting to become more so of like a norm, which I love, but I still see some people like force their kid to give someone a hug, and I'm like, oh my God, no, 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 no. And part of me screams no, because if you're like listening to this and you're like, I don't understand, like what's the point of this? And the point is that I'm not saying that this is like something that would happen. I'm just using this like as an example. Like the importance of consent is because say you're telling your daughter to go give Uncle Johnny a hug every single time you see them. She says, no, I don't want to, and you force her, right? And then as she gets older, and I know some people, the right audience will understand this, but the wrong audience, if you don't understand this, you can just stop listening altogether, because you either get it or you don't. And that's such a cold, hard truth, but you do. You either get it or you don't. But as the child gets older, it would look like, maybe a guy wanting to kiss her, and she's saying no, but he's saying, oh, come on. And I really don't think I want to. Oh, come on, just one kiss. What's one kiss gonna hurt, right? And it just gets easier to persuade her to do something that she actually didn't want to do, because when she was younger, she was told, come on, give Uncle Johnny a hug. No, I don't want to. Come on, give him a hug. That's what we do. He's family, right? And this guy's saying, it's normal. It's okay. I'm your boyfriend, right? You see? And this is something that, like, if you're like, oh shit, I've been doing it, this is just, perspective. I don't want you to think of this as like, I fucked up. I fucked my child up. Or I don't want you to read this or listen to this and be like, oh, I'm so guilty of this. What I want you to do is just have a little bit of like grace for yourself, because the more you know better, the better off you'll do. Okay? But you don't know what you don't know. And so if you haven't been modeled these things before, you maybe don't know. right? So if you saw your mom yo-yo dieting, pulling on her clothes, making comments about your body, making comments about her body, you're not going to know any different. You're not going to know anything else. You're not going to know that there's another way, right? You're not going to know that there is a version that can exist that's so much more positive. So grace, love, support yourself as you're listening to this. And I want you to remember that if you wouldn't tell your 10-year-old daughter something about her body, then chances are you shouldn't be saying it about your own body. Okay? I'm saying this with all the love in the world. And then moving on, like with number 5, the other part of that is boundaries, right? We talked about consent, but boundaries are just as important. If your child says no to something, respecting that, that's part of consent, but also understanding that they need to create boundaries over like what they think, and they can only create boundaries if they see their parents doing the same in a respectful, loving way, right? So if you are like a people pleaser and you struggle with this, and I know you're like, wait, how does this have anything to do with your body journey or anything like that? And it has a lot to do with that, right? There's so many times where I have just bent over backwards for someone, even though I knew like I didn't actually want to do it. Like my body wasn't okay with that. But because I wanted to please them, I just went along with it, right? And that does a big disservice to not only myself, but also to my body. So just some thoughts there. And if you're like, I don't know where to even begin with a boundary, I want you to look it up. I want you to Google it. I want you to start doing this research for yourself. Start learning these things yourself. There is power in knowledge, and you have the capability to learn and do more and do better. I believe in you. Okay? And remember that those are words that water the most beautiful flowers. Like yourself. Like your daughter. Like your son. Briar agrees. She's literally barking while eating her food. She's very worked up that the neighbor is outside. So, okay, Briar. But these are just things that, I thought of off the top of my head that I wanted to share with you as I was thinking back and reflecting on my own journey. And if I would have had some of these things, that maybe life would have turned out a little bit different. Maybe I would have turned out a little bit different, although I'm very thankful for where I'm at today and the work that I get to do and helping other women connect with their bodies to better understand their bodies and to unlearn what has been learned, right? So just some beautiful thoughts there that made me want to record this episode for you. I would love to know your thoughts, your opinions, your any ideas or inspiration that came from this episode. So feel free to DM me on Instagram or Facebook. It is Sarah Brookberg Co. And I love you so much. I mean it. I hope this episode found you well. All right, we'll talk soon.